We're back. This is another episode of Comics Reviews. Be warned, there are going to be spoilers involved here, so if you have not read the books this week, go read them first, come back, watch the show, and enjoy it. I'm Randy as always. This week, the crew looks a little different. The face right here, you might be a little familiar with. This is the infamous Chris. And I'm joined by longtime friend and comic shop patron, Charlie. So we are going to, as usual, take a look at our number ones, and then I'm going to toss a book out there for us to take a look at that is new this week. Usually it's a number one, and see what we thought of it. So, as these guys have never done this before, they're both virgins to this, I will go ahead and start things off here.
Cool, go ahead.
My number one this week, guys, was Sidekick number one. Now, mind you, it came in two different covers. If you were smart like Charlie and myself, you got the great Charlie Adler cover. If you were Chris Hunter, then you got the Tom Mandrake cover. He's the one that was complaining about the Tom Mandrake art to begin with.
I know. This is my box, so I just went with it.
That's what you said about the Bounce cover.
Yeah, regretting that decision.
Anyways, Sidekick. Here's a book that, be warned, there are some adult themes to the book. It's not going to go as far as The Boys goes with what it handled, but it will have things that are more along the lines of what you read in other Image comics. What we have here are two heroes, the main hero, Red Cow, and his sidekick, Flyboy, and the two of them going along, everything looks great until at the ticker tape parade, tragedy strikes. Red Cow is struck down, and Flyboy is totally lost. He doesn't know what to do. You know, he's been a sidekick his whole life, kind of a joke his whole life, because he's not the big, number one hero. And this book here just takes a look at how his life spirals out of control down the drain after his friend's death. And you get to see some spooky little moments where he goes to see his friend's ex-woman. I don't know if it was necessarily wife or lover or what. Assistant. But I think there was more assisting going on there than... But so he goes to see her in a little spooky scene in which she says, "Hey, just try to move on." That's really not the case. He's going to conventions. He's trying to start a little what was their term for it? It's like a Kickstarter, Dreamstarter project to try to do anything to get a new hero in town so that he can be the sidekick. I don't know why he doesn't try to step up as as the hero, but. Ultimately, the thing that made this my number one, the part that just hooked me, pulled me in, was a part that you had spoiled for you.
Yeah, it was spoiled for me.
It was in a review, or no, it was in an interview. Mm-hmm. Was it from the San Diego Con?
Yes, it
was. From the San Diego Con, where Straczynski's just going to throw it right out there.
He did.
And to me, this is a part of the book you don't throw out there. The assistant and Flyboy are meeting with the lawyer, who tells them, well, all the money's gone. Everything was so expensive, there's no money left, and he is, left destitute. Well, you find at the end of the book here, this is a spoiler, that our hero, Red Cow, somehow is still alive. He's gone off to, who knows where, and living up the fat life there, and with all the money that he had, and he's left the other people far behind. And to me, that's one of those where what's effective is that now you hate this guy almost instantly, because you've seen what it's done to Flyboy's life, and now you go, well, there's no excuse for this. What's going to happen next? I don't know where this goes after this. So basically, that's the book. The shocker ending there was definitely what made that the number one for me. If, like Chris, I had that ruined for me, I don't know if this would have been my number one, because it's kind of a run-of-the-mill first issue otherwise. So, but one that was well written and I still would pick up. So, I'm going to toss it out there, guys. Anything you want to say about it? Questions?
Well, I've read Straczynski for a while, I guess as long as he's been doing comics. He's a great writer, great draftsman, great plotter, great pace to this first issue. Tom Mandrake's art, as always, say what you will about Tom Mandrake's art, Chris, and I know it doesn't really go well on a superhero book, but it was well done. The panels are laid out well. You can clearly tell what's going on. And they gave you enough where the big shocker ending, like you said, Randy, it was hinted at a little bit at the parade before the Red Cow was shot.
Right.
You get something there that, this isn't quite right. We're not seeing everything as it appears. But my big question is, what kind of hero is the Red Cow that he puts his own face on his chest for his logo? You said you didn't like him instantly. Yeah, I don't like him either, Randy.
That's the reason why, though. You hated him even before.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I had not thought about that, and I like that. I will say there were parts where I really did like Mandrake's art, and there are other parts where I was kind of reminded why I'm not a huge fan myself of it. Ups and downs with it, but so I can definitely see that, and I like the way he did do the paneling with things throughout the book.
Yeah, it was. Seriously, if I hadn't read the interview with J. Michael Straczynski at San Diego Comic-Con, where he spoiled the ending in the interview, it probably would have been the pick of the week for me. Otherwise, there were elements of it that the storytelling is what really helped the art for me. I'm surprised at how much Tom Mandrake, as the artist, gets away with whenever people will burn Rob Liefeld at the stake for like the same things.
Yeah.
But Tom Mandrake's, he's like, I don't know, there's a special pedestal for him or something. But the art was actually, as I went through the issue, I was like, okay, well, this is fitting together a bit more than I thought it would. And overall, it was a great first issue for me, and I'll still be picking it up, even though the writer spoiled the ending for me for the first issue. But back to the parade, when you reread this issue, some more things fall into place. So yeah. I mean, at the parade, you immediately know something's going on when all the Red Cow has to say is and that's it. To Flyboy, his
that shows up late.
Shows up late, yeah.
And
then his face on his chest made for a great bullseye. So that was awesome. But then, I mean, you really see how far this character, Flyboy, the sidekick, has fallen. Right in the first 4 or 5 pages, he deals with a prostitute in a very special way. Then he has the creepy scene later on where he spies on the assistant to the Red Cow, who's, of course, she's with someone else now. And then you have what really got to me, though, is I think that a lot of people can relate to the story, especially if you've been elevated in some way and you've fallen, because there was one scene where he just wanted to get away from it all and try to feel clean again.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a heartbreaking, touching moment for me for the character. So overall, though, this is definitely a book you should get on and be on board with. I still enjoyed it, even though it was spoiled for me.
Good. Okay. Great little comments you added there, guys. Let's jump into something else. Do we want to go Straczynski again? Let's take a break from Straczynski.
Okay, great. Well, the book I wanted to talk about this week is Sheltered, issue number 2. Issue number 1, if you did not pick it up, was great. It may still be available at your local comic retailer. If not, I believe this is going to be a rather short, maybe 5 or 6 issue limited series. The trade should be out pretty soon if you're on the lookout for it. It's written by Ed Brisson, who did the series Come Back from Image Comics not too long ago. Awesome series. The art is by Johnny Christmas, who I am not really all that familiar with. I know he's done some webcomics online, but the art really is phenomenal. The story is phenomenal, and this book is marketed as a pre-apocalyptic tale. What's that, you ask? Well, in issue 1, we saw basically a group of doomsday preppers who had formed a camp. They brought their children with them. They've been stocking up their food, emergency water, generators, blankets, all this good stuff, digging out their underground shelters. They're debating whether or not they need to tell the government you know, what they're doing. One group is saying, we don't want the government to know. One group is saying, we don't want the government to, you know, bust in and ruin everything. I thought it was a fascinating series, actually. I thought it would deal with a lot of the politics of what goes on into that mindset. And then the concept totally gets turned on its ear at the end of issue 1. Spoiler alert, the children of all of the adults in the camp have decided that their best hope for survival is to kill all of their parents. And they do. We were introduced to a character named Lucas in issue 1, who this was his plan. He spearheaded the whole thing and rather ruthlessly killed his own father, you know, killed the mothers of all of these young children, assassination style, basically. When we get to issue 2, they're burning the bodies, and he's instructing them how to line up the bodies so that they're all burned. Exactly. Learned something new this week. And this issue was really, you know, that issue 1 was such a shock ending. I didn't know where they were going to go in issue 2. Issue 2 is centered on a couple of the children who have survived, obviously. They were outside of the encampment when this happened, and they had no clue what was going to happen. So when they find out, they're not too happy. So, you know, Lucas gives the order, let's hunt them down. And this issue ends with them, these 2 girls, I think Veronica and Haley, wanting to make a stand. And so we're gonna see some conflict in between the survivors now. It's a very well done book. It's really worth a read, and I don't know where else I'm going with that, but everybody should pick it up.
Yeah, for me, one of the things I liked is that the first book was really controlled in the type of story they set up and were telling. These 2 doomsday kind of guys talking it out with their 2 different perspectives on how to set up this community, and you go, okay, well, this is going to be a conflict between them. That becomes mass chaos when the killings start, and you don't ever really get an idea as to what Lucas' plan is. You just see, he sees some natural occurrences that are happening more and more, and he says, okay, it's time, we've got to do this. They start executing people, and from then on, the whole second issue is pretty chaotic in that you still don't get any form of a plan from them, except they'll come around. But you still have this just craziness going on because these girls weren't part of this idea, this thing. Now, mind you, Haley is the newer girl, or no, she's the sister.
Right.
Okay, and Veronica is the new girl. The new girl has not been there long, so of course she wouldn't be in on this. I don't know why Haley was not part of this, because all the other children seem to be. I do think it tends to lend towards more of a horror aspect by the end of it, when you see Haley hurting herself and going, oh, well, this can't be good, that she's now going to be slowing the group down, kind of thing. But I loved it. Johnny Christmas may be my favorite name in all of comic world right now. That's such a great name, and I think they're putting together a real kind of masterpiece right now.
Yeah, I enjoyed Shelter number 2 as well. Randy and I had discussed in our previous weekly videos the concern for one of the fathers that was in the first, Veronica's father. Well, don't worry about him anymore. But also right now, these two, issue 1 and issue 2 continues the shock and awe that has taken place, and I really liked it. The writing is good, the art is great, it's fitting, and I don't know, maybe they didn't bring in the little sister character because they had hoped that their plan of passing off, Lucas's plan of passing off the story of them being attacked by someone would be plausible, but both Veronica and Haley saw the body being dragged out of the trailer. I'm not going to say whose body now.
Well, they saw that as shots were, right after shots had been fired. Yes, exactly. So there wasn't any time to have these supposed, mystery men running away.
Exactly, and they're not stupid kids. I mean, I'm sure they would have seen extra tracks or something. I mean, it's a snowy landscape.
Right.
Anyway, it does end with a nice cliffhanger at the end. Even though this girl Veronica is probably newer to community and stuff. She's not an idiot,
Right.
and she's prepared to do something about it and defend her and Haley as well. So this whole pre-apocalyptic thing, we still don't know why Lucas thinks it's the best thing to get rid of the adults and
Right.
do this.
Yeah. No idea what his plan is.
No idea. He's pretty cold. He's pretty calculating. We do see a moment of emotion in this issue. And then also, if you are burning bodies, make sure you do them in a cross pattern. That way they stay burning and air flows like it needs to. So that's just a tip from Shelter. That's not from me. That's from Ed Brisson, the writer.
Now, he just said episode. Why might he have said episode? You were saying if people like a certain show there, you were telling me off screen, what's the show?
Oh, that was another comment. Walking Dead. Yeah, oh, definitely Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, yeah.
You know, if you're a fan of Walking Dead, I know there's no zombies in this, but seeing survivors, you know, with conflicts going back and forth between them, kind of carries on a lot of those similar themes. So if you're a fan of Walking Dead, pick up Shelter.
Yeah, I think it definitely has that kind of feel to it with just the tension between the humans.
Yes, exactly.
And there are some people that complain that there's too much of that in The Walking Dead. They want more zombies. Well, you can get that here without having to worry about the zombies being around.
Yeah.
This actually, I would say, kind of has the writing feel of really the Luna Brothers with how they did their pacing. I don't know if you read Girls. Girls was a phenomenal story that was real spooky, kind of like how this has those spooky aspects. And they also did The Sword, which kind of also had some aspects like that to it. So, great choice. All three of us love that. Wonderful pick, Charlie. We're on to you, Chris.
My pick for this week, back to J. Michael Straczynski, 10 Grand, issue number 4. It was really a tie for me between Sidekick, even though it was spoiled for me. Thank you, J. Michael Straczynski. And
I never would have forgiven him for that.
Never forgive you for that. And it was pretty much a tie between 10 Grand and Sidekick, but I went with 10 Grand instead because this was a great issue, and all 4 issues of this series so far have been great issues as far as I'm concerned. This issue, we find Joe can't get a hold of the love of his life. He can't get a hold of any angels. He has his normal tricks and gimmicks and ways of communicating, and people are just looking at him like he's funny. Also, another thing that I like about this was the brass knuckles, baby. That was awesome, and his bag of trinkets, which was awesome as well. Just a quick recap. Joe was like a mob enforcer guy. He finds the love of his life. They both end up getting killed. Now, whenever he dies for a righteous cause, he has a chance to be reunited with the love of his life for 5 minutes. But then he ends up coming back to do all the stuff that he does. And he's got this. Ben Temple-Smith is on the art. It's so perfect for this series. It gives you this dark, kind of seedy world where when you're going through the pages and you're reading the story, you're like, yeah, that little girl could be a demon. And you're reading it, and it fits, it makes total sense. And this issue was great for me, great another way along the storyline as well, because you're introduced to even more of the landscape, not just what Joe can do, but the underbelly of it all, where he has to go to do things and find what was hopefully in this issue a portal for him to be able to find the love of his life. But we don't know. It was really just a big sign of visit scenic New Jersey.
Yeah,
which I guess could be a type of hell. So that was humorous as well, and there's a lot of layers from what I'm reading so far. There's a lot of layers with this story. There's a lot of things going on. You go from him sitting in the cafe trying to talk to an angel, which was a bit funny to me, but then you see him go into the underbelly of what's going on here. And I can't wait to find out more. I love the modern take of it all, because as I said before, we're thrown into this story where this has happened a long time ago. I mean, it's been years since this has taken place, and he's doing what he's doing. So he's got his tips, his tricks, his trinkets, the brass knuckles, the angel sword, it appears like, which was pretty cool. And people know the demons and other elements know when they can and when they can't mess with them. And a man on a mission. So I love it. It's great. I really recommend you checking it out.
The one of the cool things to me is kind of the aspect of what they're doing in the Wolverine comics right now, where he knows the easiest and most direct route for him to see if what he believes has happened is to pretty much kill himself, so that he is there in that dead space, and he's afraid to do that because he may not wake up. And it's weird to me that he's afraid of that, because if he's killed, ultimately, shouldn't the whole thing be that he's finally reunited? I guess they would be in two different places, was the thing with that. So,
but he can't kill himself.
So he can't. But yeah, that's his thing, where he's like, well, I can just go ahead and kill myself, or die somehow, step out in front of the car, whatever, and die, so that I can see, well, is she there, or is this? But I don't want to, because I might not wake up again.
Exactly.
And so I like that kind of aspect of it. Charlie and I were talking. I think one of the things that this was the first issue where, for the first three, it was really fast-paced with the storytelling. And this is the first time where they almost hit the brakes and took the time to tell a much slower story.
Agreed.
And so that was, it was a bit off-putting to me in that aspect, where, I was used to something else.
We found out more about the lead character Joe in this issue. He wasn't on a mission, so to speak, with something to do, and so this was a more kind of personal thing for him, and we saw into his thought processes, how he gets things done. We found out, about his bag of trinkets, like you said, the brass knuckles and that sort of thing. But it reminded me of John Constantine. In a lot of ways, in that this is a resourceful guy, a clever guy, he knows the tricks, and he's got the mindset too, where he's going to do whatever it takes to get it done. If he has to charge in a nightclub full of demons or demon-like things, he's going to do it. And walk into a sign that says, "Welcome to Newark, New Jersey," which is kind of awful.
Exactly.
That right there seemed almost straight out of what was the Rufus Sewell, Kiefer Sutherland movie?
Dark City.
Dark City.
Yeah.
It almost seemed right out of Dark City. Where that was the wall that had something like that along those same lines there. But, that's what it reminded me of when I saw it. Great. Three really, really, really good books. In fact, all books that I had right here. Now I want to take a moment to talk about Trillium.
Wait, which cover?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Oh, we have space. We have space, and I have the not space. So what we have here in Trillium, this is the story. This is as Jeff Lemire put it, a final love story. This is an 8-issue miniseries, I believe, in which we have two different characters from two different points in time. At first, I wasn't really sure what that was going to mean. Now, after this issue, we definitely see what that means. William is from the, I guess, World War I just happened, so early 20th century, 1920s, and he is from a more well-to-do part of society, but there's something there that's not sitting right with him, and so for some reason we find him on this adventure in, where is he? They are in the Mayan ruins. So
The Lost Temple of the Incas.
The
is
Incas.
what they're looking for, yeah.
So yeah, they are down in South America or Central America, and come across some bodies, some natives that are quite vicious, and nothing seems quite right with him. He's obviously suffering from some post-traumatic stress disorder here, in which he's having flashbacks to some of the battle in World War I. And eventually, when he comes to this temple, he runs smack dab into this strange-looking woman in a strange-looking outfit. Now, that is William's story. You can turn the book over and you have Nika's story. In Nika's story, she is from some time in the future, very far into the future, and it's kind of Battlestar Galactica-esque in that these humans they can't stay on Earth anymore. They're having to run, and the human race is down to only 4,000 people left, in their race there's some sort of a sentient virus or that is hunting them down, and there is a flower that produces the antidote or the cure to this virus, except they can't seem to find any of this flower. And the one place where they seem to have found it, it's protected by a group of natives that don't want them to have anything to do with this. Nika breaks protocol and enters into their place, experiments with some of the flower, and as she passes through these passageways in this temple, she walks out and she's in the 1920s face to face with William. So we have the two characters, we see where they're from, we see how they meet, and now I guess we're going to somehow get this love story that Jeff Lemire is talking about. So that is the premise of the book, of this first issue. I'm going to toss it up here to you guys. Jeff Lemire, Trillium, art, writing, what did we think?
Go ahead, Ross.
Well, I loved it. Great to see Jeff Lemire doing another Vertigo series after Sweet Tooth, which I absolutely loved. Man, there was a lot of story in this book. You really get your money's worth. A lot of 12-panel grids. And he had a lot to do in this first issue. He not only had to build one world, one story, he had to have it intertwined with this other story, and we find there are some similarities between these two characters, and I really just kind of can't wait to see where it goes from here. There's so many places it could go. We know there's going to be a little bit of romance involved, right. But there's going to be some action. We've got to save the human race from extinction and fight off some natives who are very evil, apparently. So, Chris, what you think?
All natives are evil. Every time.
At least the ones guarding this temple.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys are probably a bit more gung-ho for it than I was. To me, it was a passable story. Of course, there's two stories with William and then with Nika. I felt there was more story with Nika on her part of it, while Williams was a bit more emotional and more centered on himself and what he'd been through, while Nika's was centered more about what's going on around her and her quest. They're trying to find this antidote for this sentient virus. I'm wondering. I mean, and then you don't know if you know that when you read the book and you read to where they both meet, they actually did meet. I mean, that's what happened, because William wasn't tripping on anything. Right. Nika kind of was, so she probably doesn't believe what's going on or what she's seeing or what she's encountering, and I don't know. And I know guys are just huge fans of Jeff Lemire's art, but oh man, there's some of this I felt like I could have drawn. It's very indie styled.
So you're saying you're a great artist?
I'm saying that if I tried hard, I could get some of these lines right. Okay, but not to discount. I mean, everybody's art is a subjective thing. So I mean, it is professional, but it is more indie styled. Kind of like what we've been seeing with Hawkeye and the Hawkeye Annual and stuff like that. A more indie style take on it, in my opinion, but I do want to see more. So that's a plus for Jeff Lemire in both the writing and the art. I do want to see more. I'm curious if every issue is going to be a flip book, where you got to flip and read through, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but
I think now that they've met, it probably isn't.
Let's hope.
From what I understood, the first issue was the only one that was this flip book. Yeah, I know there have been a couple of other strange people that I've met who, for some reason, haven't liked Jeff Lemire's art. To me, it's not so much that you're not getting this Rob Liefeld or Jim Lee.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Jim Lee, probably not so much.
Yeah, you're not getting this ultra detailed, muscle bound, pure action kind of story. But what you're getting is some guy that he can draw, and his strength is that he can draw in telling a great story with his art. He doesn't have to focus on it being probably what people are going to put in certain definitions in this definition of some of the cleanest, best art style, but he has a real power in the story that he's telling with his art. And so that to me is where I've always been a fan of the art.
Well, hold on a second. Of course,
sure.
He has the power in that regard. He's the writer and the artist.
Right.
So he's writing it, and whatever he was envisioning when he was writing it, he's able to put that to page. So that is an advantage, and it's a plus as far as that is concerned. But I mean, there's when the scene where they meet, you know, he can't even. The handle's not even drawn appropriately in William's hand compared to the rest of the sword. Okay, so it is an indie style. If you're looking for a lot of clean line work, like what you would see with a lot of superhero stuff, it's not necessarily that way. It's more of an indie style, maybe a bit sketchy at parts and stuff, and a lot of unevenness that does bring a distinctive style to what Jeff Lemire does.
Okay. I will say he also was the writer-artist on the issue of Adventures of Superman #1, which may have been one of the best solo individual stories that I've read there. Thought that was great. I do like the style, but that's cool that the writing will still keep you around to read the story there, even though the art may not be the hook. For me, another part of this book that I really liked is that it has something that's usually a pretty common convention with a science fiction story, in which you have a person that is out of place. They are living in this certain time period or whatever, but they're so different than everybody else around them. And what oftentimes ends up happening is it's a person that's living in kind of like today's time, and they get pulled into the future. They get pulled into outer space, and you know, stuff is beyond what they're used to, and so they have to learn to adapt. This almost seems like it's going with the reverse with that, where she's gone back in time now, and that's neat to me that you have something that we're familiar with, but they're doing kind of a 180 on it, so you're not getting the same story, or you're going to get something where, you know, how's she going to react to things being a whole lot more simpler than that. And it should be noted, she's wearing a helmet on the cover there that you see. They are on another planet. They are not on Earth when this happens. So somehow this other planet with this alien native race and this temple leads to the past with William there on Earth. So I thought that was a neat little thing they also played with there. So. Anything to say about the art, Charlie?
You know, just to, I understand it's not a style for everybody. It is a more indie style, and it's about getting emotion across and storytelling, and you know, there's so many different art styles out there. There's been Templesmith style, which to me isn't all that different from Jeff Lemire's, really.
No, but it's the same from book to book.
Yeah, and it's the same from book to book, and you know, I think Lemire's a very, very, very talented storyteller. He can write. He does write Green Arrow.
Yes.
Which
this guy loves. I do. And this guy. And I almost picked that for my nipple.
I was close too.
Oh,
sorry, Charlie.
Oh no, that's okay. But you know, it's like I said, it's not a style for everybody. But I'm a fan, and that's okay if other people aren't. So I understand totally.
Well, I like that other people are still going to read this, even though that may not necessarily be the hook. And for you, I know that's always a big thing with you being a big art guy. So,
but let me add this: her whole encounter with the alien race, and then doing the rite of passage or whatever that ceremony was with the alien character, and where she tasted the flower, and then she went into the temple that was there, and then she's in the future. It's like year 3,297. You know, it's like 2,000 years in the future. And then she walked into this temple, and she walks out on the other side into Earth. She walks from an alien planet in the future through this temple and comes out the other side on Earth back in the 1920s or 30s, whenever that was.
Right.
That was really interesting to me. So I have got to see how he's going to explain, if he ever does, this connection of the future, this one place in the future on an alien planet, being able to transport someone into the past to a different planet altogether.
Oh, that's really going to burn you up if he never touches on that, because this might be more about the love story between these two characters and never deal with that again.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if he does, we could go all lost in this, you know, and you never get any solid answers for anything. So, but I mean, I don't know. This is the second series of any kind that I've read from Jeff Lemire. Because I didn't read Sweet Tooth and I haven't read any of his other stuff, but I haven't done any of that. But Green Arrow he's killing it on Green Arrow as far as I'm concerned, and I'm still interested in Trillium, and we'll be picking it up despite you know what feeble arguments I have.
Oh, I'll give it a chance.
With the art.
Oh yeah. So that being said, I think that's a good segue here. That's our show pretty much. So with the our number ones, remember, Sheltered number 2 and 10 Grand number 4 and Sidekick number 1, as well as us looking at Trillium number 1. Before we go, let's toss out a few more there that we didn't get to talk about that were pretty much, I'd say, high on our list that we'd recommend people check out. I know Fatal is definitely one of those. We had number 16. I think it's still fairly easy to go back and find issues on this book or getting the trades on this book. That's definitely one to check out. Green Arrow, we mentioned, number 23 came out, and man, that was awesome. Anything else, guys?
Charlie?
Manhattan Projects, I believe 13 was out this week. A little bit of a change in gears from where they were previously on that. Luther Strode, the second series, ended this week. The third series will pick up next fall, I believe.
I was thankful that ended.
The ending wasn't bad. It ended on a strong note.
It ended on a very strong note. I will say that. I've got to say, I was kind of on the fence about Satellite Sam after reading issue 2. Man, that issue was great. I mean, that was so much stronger than the first issue, which I thought was real heavy with the history of television kind of thing. This one got more into the story, and it hooked me. It may have taken like 45 minutes to read issue 1, and I probably read issue 2 in like 10-15 minutes there. It was a quicker read, but still in-depth for what it was. So that one's also on my list there. Anything else, Chris?
Mainly everything that you guys have mentioned, plus Green Arrow. Superior Foes of Spider-Man number 2. I enjoyed that. We're going to have to do some things different though from here on out, because you can't have the same person showing up as everybody else, and everybody that's read that issue will know what I'm talking about. These were my top ones for the week. Sidekick, 10 Grand, Trillium, Sheltered, Manhattan Projects. It would have only been better if there could have been another. Well, there was another Jonathan Hickman book. It was Avengers. I had a whole train of thought, and I messed it up for myself.
Oh, that's awesome. That just goes to show the strength of Image Comics there.
Seriously.
I think it really does. They are...
I mean, 4 of my top 5 this week were Image Comics.
Yeah, and the other was Vertigo. And Vertigo is about to get stronger and stronger with some of their books coming out here.
Hey, wait, another honorable mention. I actually enjoyed Superior Spider-Man, the latest issue, 15 or 16. I liked that, and for me, it's been a pretty consistent, fun read. So that's just another thing off the top of my head.
That ending was great.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, guys, as usual, this was a long episode there. Feel free to go down and to the link and download your MP3, the MP3 for it. Listen to us on the go here. Share, like, do whatever you want. Talk to us, please. We want to know what you think about the books that came out this week. What was your favorite with it? You're probably going to see these guys again here. That's we're going to keep a rotating cast and crew along here. I'm kind of the only guy with complete and total free time that you'll keep on seeing my face. Sorry. But we hopefully have planned for you something pretty special next week. So stay tuned for that. because next week is going to be a slobber knocker with just how awesome the comics are coming out. Such a strong list for the week. So just keep watching us. Stay tuned for more. And remember, we are here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Excalibur Comics, cards, and games. You can find us in Texarkana also. You can find us online at ExcaliburCCG.com, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel ExcaliburCCGTV. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great weekend, week, day, night, whenever you watch. Thanks.